Hello and welcome to all. Today's session we will see top 20 software testing terminologies that every QA professional must know. So before we start the terminologies, first we'll understand why software testing terminologies matter. It matters because it establishes the common understanding across the teams. So when we are discussing with different teams like dev team or product team or QA team, okay, if we are using the common terminologies, okay, so our understanding is same. It improves the communication between the QA, dev, product, and the stakeholders. Okay, it is essential for defect reporting, test kit design, and the documentation. Okay, it also helps maintain the process consistency in agile and waterfall projects. Okay, so we'll start with the terminology. Okay, so first is test scenario. Okay, it's a high level description of what functionalities needs to be tested. Okay, like if you see the basic purpose, it ensures the complete coverage of the application features. For example, if we consider the login features, then we'll say verify login functionality. Okay, now if you see this is the test scenario. Okay, so when we say verify the login functionality, it's a high level scenario. Okay, so if you go more granular, then it's become test case. Like verify login functionality with valid data, invalid data. Okay, so we'll see all these details in next slide. Then verify forgot password features. Okay, next is a test case. Okay, it is a detailed step-by-step documentation used to validate a test scenario. Okay, so as I mentioned, in test case, we need to provide the test steps, test data, expected result. Okay, and we need to give the step-by-step instruction. So enter valid username, valid password, click on login. Then expected result is user should be redirect to dashboard or home screen. And next is a test condition. Okay, it is a specific business rule or the requirements to be tested. For example, like password field should not accept less than 8 characters. Then next is a test data. So basically, test data is useful as part of when we are executing a test cases. So it input the values used to execute the test cases. For example, username, password. If in case we are using the valid username and valid password test case, then in this case we need to provide this data. Then next, a test script. It is a set of automated instruction used to validate functionality. Example, login automation script written using the Selenium with Java. Okay, so we are automating the same test cases which we have written manually. Okay, when we automate into the Selenium with Java, that is called test script. Next terminology, test plan. It is a formal master documentation that defines the scope, approach, schedule, and the resources. Okay, so now if you see here, it's includes a lot of things. Okay, but for example, like test scope, test strategy, entry and exit criteria, risk, and the mitigation. All these details we are mentioning master documentation test plan. Okay, so what is the test strategy? It is a high level testing approach applicable across the project. For example, like when we are doing any strategy on any specific project. So manual testing for new features, where the automation for the regression cycles or the regression test cases. Then what is defect bug? It is a deviation between the expected result and the actual result. Okay, so that is called defect or the bug. For example, login button remains enabled when fields are empty. Okay. Then next is the defect life cycle. Okay, it stages a defect goes through from identification to closure. So here we have explained the defect life cycle. Like first, a tester finds a defect, the status is new. Okay, then in next stage in defect tries meeting. Okay, like product QA and dev leads discussing the defects, and they are considering whether it's a valid defect. If it is a yes, okay, is it in scope? The answer is yes, it is already raised. Okay, the answer is no. Then it's assigned to dev team. Okay, and if in case is it a valid defect? No, then simply in tries meeting the defect is status call as rejected. Okay, and if is it in scope? Okay, if it is the answer is no, then the status change to deferred. Okay, is it already raised? Okay, if it is a yes, then status is changing the duplicate. And once it is assigned to dev team, okay, the status is moved to in progress. And once dev team fix the state defect, then change the status code fixed. Okay, and once the kit is fixed, okay, it's deployed to QA, then QA verifies and it's passed, then we mark as a closed. Okay, if no, again we'll reopen and assign back to development team or the respective developer. So this is the defect life cycle. Okay. The next is the severity. Okay, it indicates the impact of a defect on the application functionality. For example, application crash on login. It's a critical severity. Okay. Then priority. Priority indicate the urgency of fixing a defect. Okay. For example, login failure in production. It's a high priority. Okay, so usually if you see, severity is defined by the QA, where the priority is defined by the product. Okay, but now mostly we are using in agile development. Okay, so in defect trials meeting only, we are deciding the severity and priority. Okay, then next is the test environment. It is a setup where testing is performed, like QA environment with the test database and application build. Okay, so we have a different test environment. Like we have a QA environment, we have a performance environment, we have a UAT environment, we have a SIT environment. Okay, so we have a number of different environment, and the last environment is a production environment. Okay, then we'll see basic terminology: verification versus validation. Okay, so verification, we need to remember like uh, this terminology: are we building the product right? Okay, so this is the verification. Like here is a like a requirement review. Okay, then walkthrough. We are doing it. Validation means we are actually executing the test cases. So are we building the right product? Okay, executing the test cases. Okay. Then next is the smoke testing. So basic testing we are doing to ensure the critical functionalities are working. Okay, so basically we are doing when we deploy the latest build in any environment, QA environment or PT1 environment, or we can say in performance environment or UAT environment. Okay, quick check we are doing, build verification test we are doing. Okay, so that is called the smoke testing. Okay, so we'll ensure that the all the critical functionalities are working fine. Then regression testing. So it ensures the existing functionality works after the latest changes done or after the latest code fixed or defect fixed. Okay, so for example, login functionality is tested after the registration enhancement. Okay, so there should not be any side impacts. Okay, then functional testing. It validates the application behavior against the functional requirements. Non-functional testing means test the performance, security, usability, reliability. Okay. Then user acceptance testing is the final validation done by the end user or the clients or the product before the production release. Okay. Then what is a build? A deployable version of the application provided to QA for testing. It may be for the defect verification or the sprint ticket verification or the regression testing. Okay. The next release, a tested and approved build delivered to customers. That is called release. Okay. The next is the requirement traceability matrix. Okay. So basically, requirement traceability matrix is useful when we need to trace the requirements. Okay, or document mapping requirements to test case to ensure the full coverage. Okay. So we can also map test case if in case our test case got failed, then we'll also map test cases to defect. Okay, so from defect, we'll identify which test case got failed. From test case, we'll identify which requirements got failed. Okay, so this is called the requirement traceability matrix. So this is the top 20 software testing terminology that every QA professional must know, or like a QA professional always use their day-to-day life. Okay, if in case you have any questions or queries, please let me know. Thank you.